Very often when we have a lot of data, we can get much more meaning from it when we sort it. For example, if we have salaries in our department, we may want to sort from low to high, or if we have grades of an exam in a class, we may want to sort that from high to low. Or we just want to sort names alphabetically. There are many examples why. What we're going to do here in this module is look at sorting both in free form as far as raw data, and if we have it in a table format as well. We'll see that we'll have much more meaningful information that results if we can easily sort the data. Now let's take a look. Here we have a class which has a number of students, 30 to be exact, and we have their first and last names and 5 exams that they've taken and their grades, and also the status if they're full or part-time, and if they're male or female. We'd like to get a better handle on some of this information by sorting. So if we go to, for example, we'd like to sort exam 1 to see how they did overall. So to do that, we're first going to highlight the data overall. We're going to choose the sort command, and we will see that when we go into data and we look for sort. Then it says, how do you want to sort it? By gender? No. We want to sort this by exam 1. And we'll go from, let's go from highest to lowest, largest to smallest, and we'll press enter. And we see the highest grade is a 99, the lowest grade is a 55, and that's a beginning to understand the data. Now, if we like, we can get an average on the data as well. As you recall, we just type in equals average, and we can then highlight the data that we want to get an average on. Let's take a look what we have, and let's take a look at our formula. Let's put it in parentheses, let's press, and we see that the average is 76.63. Now that is one way of doing it, and as we saw in a previous module, we can easily take a look at this information through the Excel add-ins and get the average and the highest and the lowest, etc. But right now we're just concerned about sorting. Let's continue and let's sort our students by status, full-time and part-time. Well, to do that, it's exactly the same way. We're going to choose data, we'll go to sort, and this time we're going to sort by the status, and we'll do it from, this time, A to Z, and we'll choose OK. And we see the status of full-time, and we see status of part-time down there. Now, in a future module, we are going to see that we can even do much more detailed analysis by breaking up the full and the part-time into what's called a pivot table, but we'll leave this for a future module. But for the time being, we can get a good handle on what we have as well just by a cursory view of the information that we see. We have the ability to add a level so that we can sort by one field and then by another field. What this means is, let's take a look at our data where we can now sort again, and we have sort by, in this case we said status, but let's add a level, and in this case we will sort by also by gender. And let's just see what we have here. We click on OK, and what we've done is we're now sorting by status where we have full-time, then part-time, and secondary source is by the gender where we have female and then followed by male. And what this means is that we have all the full-timers and the female, and then it's followed by the full-timers and male. And if we go further down, we see the part-timers, first by female, and then if we go further down, it'll be part-timers by male. And that will be called a second level sorting arrangement. And we could continue doing this for a third level as well. There are many different types of examples that you can think of whereby you may want to sort by first and second. Even with names, we can sort by last name, and then a secondary sort would be by first name. So this way we have it properly set up in our directory. Now, even though we have sorted in this manner, there's even a better manner how we can sort, and that is by using a table. And Excel makes things easier for us when we do so. So let's take this data and let's create a table. We know how to do that. And let's put the data in the table. And we'll take a look at the result. I place the table next to the same data so we can have a comparison. So here's our table, and it does look nicer just by the way it is. And when I click on one of the cells in the table, up comes Table Tools, which will enable to make things much easier for us. And when I click on that, we see that we have different choices. For example, a total row, which we can add at the bottom just by clicking on Total Row. And now we have a total. And we have other choices there as well, banded rows, but you can play around with to see what it looks like, but we can turn it on, turn it off, and we have different shapes that we can take a look at, different styles rather, to make it look nicer and more appealing. And you can go through that on your own. Now, one of the things here by the total, let's take a look what that can do for us. If we click down after the exam 1 area and we click down the down arrow, if we'd like to have an average, just click on average and it'll give us exactly what the average is for this number of students that I have included in this table. It's not the same as before. I just picked a subset of it, but we would have gotten exactly the same average that we had in the prior example. And as you can see, we can look for the maximum grade. In this case, it was a 94, and the minimum grade, in this case, it's a 55. Okay, and there are other functions as well that we could look at, which I will leave for you to experiment with. Right now, we are just going to indicate where they are. Now, to sort the data, it'll be very similar to what we did earlier, but here we don't have to highlight the whole thing. We'll just highlight, let's say, one cell, and we can now go to Sort, and it asks you again, sort by, let's sort by exam 1, and let's click on OK, and here we have the data sorted very quickly, as we saw before. And again, as we saw before, if we wish, let's take a look one more time so we're clear. When we sort, we have the ability to add a level as well, and maybe I want to sort now by exam 2 to see how the students did in that regard, and click on OK, and now I have, as you can see, from lowest to highest, 55 up, and then we are sorting by exam number 2 as well, whereby we can make some sort of matching comparison to exam number 1. We are now going to look at a very useful technique called filtering.